Hello there, dear viewers. This is ABC World, the voice of Pan-Africanism, coming to you live from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, the political and diplomatic capital of Africa. I'm your host, Biniam Alamayo, with the weekly viewpoint, your weekly gateway to trending topics here in Ethiopia, Africa, and beyond. I'm joined here in the studio by my colleagues Sintayo Tamrat and members of the technical crew. Please do make sure to stay with us. As usual, we'll be unpacking some issues of trending nature. Thus, the latest visit to Ethiopia and Addis Ababa by Turkey President, His Excellency Recep Tayyip Erdogan, has made quite an impact. And so we'll be unpacking issues related to that one with my colleague Sintayo. Thus, without further ado, let me now cut to the chase and invite Sinte to give us his reflection on the nature of the visit as well as the focal areas of the visit. What have you observed?
Thank you, Viniam, for inviting me to reflect on this issue. And when I see the nature of the visit, it is just the second time visit by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, and it is just the second time after 2015 that the president came to Addis, and he was just warmly welcomed. So we see that when we see the nature of the visit by the president, it just marks a kind of high-profile presidential visit, as well as 1 century of formal diplomatic relations between the two countries since the Turkey opened its embassy in Ethiopia in 1926. So it is just Erdogan's second visit, underscoring both symbolic continuity and strategic reinvigoration in the diplomatic ties between the two countries. So we can just frame it as a new chapter in the relationship between the two countries, highlighting its role in reinforcing political trust as well as expanding cooperation. So the key focus areas include economic, military, security, as well as diplomatic engagement. So the visit can be framed as a new chapter in bilateral relations, highlighting its role in reinforcing political trust as well as expanding cooperation. So when we focus on the key target areas of the visit, we can just raise political cooperation, which is Turkey and Ethiopia share regular high-level engagements, including state visits dating back to at least 2015, when His Excellency President Recep Tayyip Erdogan for the first time visited Addis Ababa, and also the bilateral coordination is on regional diplomacy. Ankara has engaged in Ethiopia as a partner in the Horn of Africa diplomacy, including mediation efforts between Ethiopia and Somalia to ease tensions over maritime access. So the Turkey's role here, Turkey's role here was really great, and it is just a kind of the middle power diplomacy that wants just to negotiate between the countries without using power or leveraging its high position. So that is just what the Ethiopian government or any regional actors that need peace appreciated. When we come to the economic and trade relations, bilateral trade and investment have expanded significantly over the past 2 decades, from modest levels in the early 2000s to hundreds of billions in annual trade and billions in Turkish investment in Ethiopia's industrial and construction sectors. There have been over 2.5 billion in investment, over 2.5 billion USD in Turkish investment, and just creating over 20,000 jobs for Ethiopians. And when we come to Turkish firms, they are just prominent in Ethiopia's textile, manufacturing, construction, and agro-processing sectors, making Turkey one of the top 3 foreign investors in 2025.
ዛሬ በነበረን የሁለትዮሽ ግንኙነትና ንግግር በአንዳንድ ወሳኝ ጉዳዮች ላይ ከፕሬዝዳንት ጋር ተግባብተናል።
We agreed to work towards increasing annual trade volume to exceed $1 billion and to further encourage Turkish investment in Ethiopia. Due to Ethiopia's rapid economic growth and expanding population, Turkey expressed full support for Ethiopia's efforts to secure sea access through peaceful means. We also discussed climate cooperation with Turkey as set to host COP later this year. We agreed to strengthen collaboration through experience and expertise sharing in climate action and sustainable development. As Ethiopia-Turkey partnership is rooted in mutual respect and shared interests, both bilateral and multilateral engagements will benefit not only the two nations but also the broader African continent.
ስፖርት ማድረግ እንዲችሉ በትብብር እንድንሰራ ተጨማሪ ኢንቨስተሮች እንድናመጣ ተነጋግረናል።
Defense and security collaboration. The defense cooperation has just grown, including military training, equipment transfers, and strategic dialogue. We know that Turkish drones and defense equipment have been part of Ethiopia's security toolkit for several years now. And these have just boosted Ethiopia's defense capability. And there has also been repeated contacts of the Turkey and Ethiopian military personnel for maybe for more than decades now, I can say. So these are just what I can say. And Binyam, I may just add some points after you have just said your points.
Sente, that was very refreshing, and as you established, this relationship has been growing from time to time and broadening in its impact as well as intensity. So now let me take a couple of moments to reflect on the strategic interests on both the sides of Ethiopia and Turkey behind the visit, as well as as far as Ethiopia is concerned. We have traditional partners in our diplomatic ties. The traditional partners are the Western allies as well as some of the powers in the Horn of Africa. But beyond that, Ethiopia seeks alternative partner such as Turkey, because this kind of partner is what you might call a development partner with whom you can work, but whose conditionality for providing you with the things you want are very minimal, so to say. There are nearly no conditionalities while working with Turkey. Turkey provides you with development interests as well as security, and then playing quite a substantial role in the Horn of Africa. So that's one of the things Ethiopia has been seeking in this type of relationship. There's something too that's very interesting. That is Turkey's interest in the Horn of Africa and its role in security areas coincides with Ethiopia's South-South cooperation spirit and outlook. Another critical area of the relationship between Turkey and Ethiopia has been development, growth, industry, and the economy in general. So as far as Ethiopia is concerned, there's a huge flow of Turkey or Turkish investors to Ethiopia, engaging in such fields as engineering, energy, textiles, manufacturing. These are some of the focal areas where they have been concentrating. So this helped Ethiopia boost its job creation initiatives as well as industrial growth. That helped it a lot. And also infrastructure development. That's one of the things the two countries have been working on. Okay. And then, of course, you have mentioned how critical the involvement of Turkey has been in the Horn of Africa and in general.
Sure.
The Horn of Africa, as you very well know, is a very competitive area. We're talking about many different superpowers with their own interests and agendas working behind countries. And then we also have interests by Horn of African countries themselves. As far as Turkey is concerned, Ethiopia provides it with a nice opportunity because we're talking about one of the biggest economies in the entire Africa. And then Ethiopia is the biggest in terms of population in the Horn of Africa, the second in the entire continent. Ethiopia's strategic location and its geopolitical position within the Horn of Africa and its concern with the security environment of the Horn of Africa and its positive outlook towards countries, the South-South cooperation makes it a very key strategic partner for Turkey. Now let's take a moment to reflect on what are Turkey's interests in this type of relationship, because I was talking more about Ethiopia and what it seeks from the relationship. As far as Turkey is concerned, it wants to broaden its involvement in the Horn of Africa because this is a very strategic area. Yeah. It has its own interests, of course, but they work with more of a positive vibe. Like I told you, there are less conditionalities. They seek partnership based on mutual respect, yeah, and they provide an alternative. So Ethiopia was this type of population and its involvement in the Horn of Africa, some of the initiatives it has taken in such countries as Somalia, seeking peace, and its contribution towards AMISOM and other forces makes it a very strategic partner and ally. So that's one of the things Turkey has been seeking, because there's a kind of foothold that, yeah, Turkey wants to establish, and Ethiopia has been ready to support it in this regard. Then the trade market we've talked about. Ethiopia provides a big market for Turkey investors who have been, burgeoning from time to time. It's been decades now since Turkey has been involving with Ethiopia in its diplomatic ties. But of recent, in recent years or of late, Turkey investors have been providing Ethiopia with opportunities. There are several areas such as construction, mining, energy, areas where Turkey firms have been establishing themselves and, firming up their foothold. So this provides them with benefit. First of all, there's a big market from which they can benefit. Then there's infrastructure. The type of infrastructure Ethiopia has been providing them with has been very critical. And then there's a broader economic framework. It's bilateral in nature for the time being, but it can broaden as far as the two countries are concerned. So Turkey has been very interested in these three things, i.e. the bigger market, the bilateral engagements and framework, as well as the infrastructure provided by Ethiopia. Then, of course, security and defense cooperation, about which you reflected a big deal. That's the other area they've been working on. So there's equipment exports which help Ankara build long-term security partnerships with countries such as Ethiopia. Defense cooperation has been very key in this area, and Turkey's role in the Horn includes broader regional security dialogues. What happened with Somalia when Ethiopia was pushing with its maritime access quest, is a very good example, because in that area, Turkey provided with a role of a negotiator or a mediator. Turkey very successfully mediated between Somalia and Ethiopia and eased tensions that were building up. So that's one of the other areas that Turkey has been interested in. So ladies and gentlemen, this is ABC World, the voice of Pan-Africanism, coming to you live from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. This is Viewpoint, your weekly gateway to trending topics here in Ethiopia, Africa, and beyond. So now let's take some time to reflect on the regional as well as global context of this visit, which happened in Addis Ababa. It was very tumultuous, but can you please reflect on that one, as well as the South-South cooperation aspect of the visit? Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Bini. As you have just mentioned, we have to reflect on the regional and global context of the visit of His Excellency Recep Tayyip Erdogan. So we can see the regional aspect in the Horn of African dynamics, and as we see that there is just an increased interest of from the middle powers like Turkey in the Horn of African region, and with this region there have been just a political and also power balance dynamics in the region. So the Horn of African region is a highly volatile region, and also many countries, particularly the superpowers and middle powers like Turkey, are just keeping an eye closely in the Horn of African region. So from this perspective, there is just an increased interest in the region. So as the visit also just cements this point. So the Horn of Africa is now a focus of the middle powers beyond traditional Western and the Gulf actors. So Turkey's outreach represents one strand of this broader trend. So Turkey's engagement includes cooperation on trade and security, mediation as well, and diplomatic efforts, particularly as you mentioned, and I also just mentioned, between Ethiopia and Somalia, as Ethiopia balances ties with Somalia, Egypt, and the United Arab Emirates. So Turkey's role is really immense, and also it has been important, and it also signifies, I mean, the present visit of Erdogan also signifies that the Ankara declaration, as you mentioned, it was just really a very good diplomatic framework between Ethiopia and Somalia, which was just mediated by Turkey. So it illustrates how this regional alignment can advance stability in the Horn of African region, and the present visit also cements this one. So as we just try to see the global context, we can get the South-South cooperation, and with the South-South cooperation, Ethiopia's engagement with Turkey's fits into a broader narrative of the South-South cooperation, where developing states pursue partnerships based on mutual development goals rather than external conditionalities. Turkey, like Ethiopia, is a country that demands the revision of the restructuring of the reform of the global order, the global system, the global financial architecture, the global political order, the global laws must be reshuffled, reshaped. That can take it to the multinational level. So this is just what makes the two countries similar. Ethiopia wants a ensuring a multilateral system in the global order, and Turkey does the same, with President Erdogan saying that the world is not of 5 countries or 5 governments. So this aligns with Ethiopia's interest, in fact Africa's interest. So within the visit, yesterday's visit, I think the two have also just raised this, and I mean to collaborate on this agenda. So both Ethiopia and Turkey are navigating a multipolar global order, balancing interests with the West, China, Gulf states, and African partners. So their bilateral diplomacy reflects a strategy of flexibility and diversification, leveraging new partnerships while maintaining existing ones. So in general, if you question why does this visit matters both for Ethiopia and Turkey, we can get, for example, we have just some political leverage, economic development, security cooperation, and more. So for Ethiopia, it gains a reliable strategic partner in Turkey, one that engages diplomatically without heavy conditionalities, as we have just mentioned, and can facilitate regional negotiations. To the economic front, we can see that Turkish investment supports Ethiopia's industrial transformation and job creation ambitions, as well as technological advancements, and Ethiopia's target is to boost its export commodities and just balance or bridge the export-import trade deficits. So in the security regard, defense ties and technology transfers enhance Ethiopian security capacities amid internal and regional challenges. You know that, Binyam, Ethiopia has been just strengthening its military capabilities given the context of the Horn of African region, which is the volatile region in terms of conflict and other issues. So the Ethiopian government has been just building a mighty military in the Horn of Africa region. So here, cooperation with Turkey is really a critical point that we need to mention. And for Turkey, it is just making a strong foothold in the Horn of African region with bilateral ties with Ethiopia. You know that Ethiopia is the very gateway, a critical gateway into Africa. So one, for this reason. Another, it deepens ties with Ethiopia, strengthens Turkey's voice in the Horn and the Red Sea area. So this visit is really critical. And with in the economic front for Turkey, Ethiopia's market and investment opportunities contribute to Turkey's broader Africa economic strategy. You know that Ethiopia is a country of over 130 million people. Add to this the Eastern African community or population. It is a big market to Turkey trade and investment area or sector. You see? So in addition to this, there are just a number of Turkish investments here operating here in Ethiopia. So they can just easily export their commodities, their products to the Horn of African countries. You see, because Ethiopia has a number of outlets, I mean just corridors that connect, for example, Somalia, Djibouti, Sudan, South Sudan, Kenya. You see, Ethiopia has ways, I mean just highways constructed, well-built, well-established roads. So they can easily export their commodities. So the Ethiopian market, the Ethiopian industries, or the Ethiopian industry sector, manufacturing sector, is really a great opportunity for Turkey investors. And another point is the Ethiopian Airlines. Ethiopia is just expanding its airlines services with the Bishoftu International Airport to come into operation within the next 5 years, and with 120 million passengers plus cargo services. And with the present Ethiopian Airlines, it has just destinations in all these Horn of African regions and cargo services. So this makes Ethiopia one of the top investment hubs in Africa. Then it is just with this advantage that Turkish investments or other investments are coming to Ethiopia and trying to erect their manufacturing plants and export. So the export with for their export, they have just good advantage with the Ethiopian airlines here. And with diplomatic visibility, of course, It is just leading mediation efforts and high-level engagement is enhance Ankara's profile as an influential non-Western global actor in the region. Bini, I would like just to underline here one point. Today, we are witnessing transactional diplomacies, but Turkey is not like that. It is a middle-level diplomacy, a middle power diplomacy, engaging parties in a collaborative, in a productive way. But when we see some other diplomacies, they are just coercive. Yeah. Traditional diplomacy is more of coercive. It is becoming these days particularly more coercive than it used to be. So we are witnessing transactional diplomacy in the Horn of African region. So Turkey's role here to balance that gap is really a very important thing, and really that needs to be appreciated.
Sure. So ladies and gentlemen, we've been bringing you the latest from Viewpoint, your weekly gateway to trending topics as well as stories shaping Ethiopia, the Horn of Africa and beyond. We've seen in this latest episode that the relationship between Ethiopia and Turkey provides Ethiopia with an alternative and balancing diplomatic gateway to the world, because we're talking about a nation that has less conditionalities and a relationship that is less and less based on the traditional transactional kind of diplomacy. Also, Ethiopia benefits a lot from the inflow of Turkey investors to Ethiopia who've been interested in such fields as engineering, construction, investment, thus boosting Ethiopia's industrial growth as well as job creation initiatives. We've also seen that Ethiopia's foreign policy embedded in South-South cooperation outlook has been a very attractive incentive for Turkey, who wants to get a foothold in the Horn of Africa. So with that, we thank you for being with us. I'm Biniam Alamayo, your host, along with the technical crew and my co-host, Santayo Tamrat. Goodbye, thank you, and take care.